We do 38 game weeks of Premier League predictions, but forget everything. It all comes down to 90 minutes of football. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, the Etihad, the hardest stadium to go to get points. It's Arsenal or Man City for the Premier League title.
It is a massive game week, and because of that, everyone like and subscribe right now, please.
If we ever ask for people to like it, do it now. This is the biggest game. If you're a City or an Arsenal fan, let's see how big these two clubs are. But first, before we get to that match, what's the first one, Thog Dad?
Wolverhampton Wanderers against Crystal Palace, 14th against 12th. This is a little bit of a mid-table clash, isn't it? I mean, Wolves went ahead against Leicester and then bottled it, but neither of these two teams is going down.
I don't think either can get complacent as of yet. They must continue to get points. Only 3 points between them. And yes, Wolves have won 3 of their last 4 home games, but they went and played Leicester and lost 2-1. And actually, it's a wake-up call that the players still need to press for points. The league is not done yet in their relegation battle.
Crystal Palace under Roy Hodgson, 10 points in 4 games. They're catching up to Chelsea, mate.
What's going to even better their confidence, knowing the head-to-head record they have at the Molineux, even at home, they've won this fixture the last 4 times.
We're going to get straight to it. Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Crystal Palace 0. I think Wolves will get enough 1-0 wins and stay up.
Well, they're on an unbeaten run of 4, Crystal Palace, and Thogdad says it's going to end here, and I disagree. It's going to be a 1-1 draw. Now, Zaha has 6 games left for Palace before he leaves. True to his contract, unless he extends it, he'll score here, and he needs a big performance because recently they've adapted, picking up 10 points in 4 games without Zaha in the team.
Theo, you've not told me who the guest is, mate.
Well, we had to get an Arsenal fan, Thogdad. Take a guess. Which Arsenal fan am I going to have for the biggest game of the Premier League?
Well, there's no way you've got Poet, is there, Theo?
Absolute. From Poet and Vooch.
No way.
You and me used to religiously watch their videos, and he's on Prem Predictions for the very first time. Welcome.
Wagwan people, let's have a good life and make heaven the sequel. First of all, we kiss our plants. Wagwan Juicy J, the realest plant to ever hit the block. How are you? Wagwan Anelka, come on. Always in someone else's home. Now, Crystal Palace couldn't win a game under Patrick Vieira. 2-2, they get a new gaffer, Roy Hodgson, the same owl from OVO. This guy's about 81 years old. He comes in, Eze looks sprucey. Elise looks sprucey. 2-1 Palace victory.
What a legend he is, Theo. But Aston Villa in 6th against Fulham in 9th place. These are 2 teams who've had decent seasons. Villa, Theo, 13 points in 5 games. Second best form in the league.
They'll be happy to be back in front of the whole 10 after incredible form. I don't believe what's going on at Villa. And to better their chances of a European tour, we're seeing the cup winners potentially be Man City or Man United, who are both already qualified for Champions League. The EFL Cup, United's already won. So these places of Conference League in Europe, they flow down the Premier League table. They're currently 6th. They're 2 points from Tottenham for 5th, but they don't need it. They've already got a Europa League qualification as it stands. And do you know what? They had a blip against Brentford. They didn't play as well as they should have. They went away. Ollie Watkins had a bit of an off day. He's allowed that after his incredible recent form. This is where they come back, isn't it, Thogdad?
Yeah, absolutely. But having said that, Fulham have won the last 2 games, so it won't be easy. But good spirit against Brentford. Douglas Luiz, a very late equaliser.
Fulham, they're 5 points from 7th, which this year will be a Conference League spot, so they can go on a European tour as well. And they found a way of making it work without Mitrovic. The likes of Dan James and Harry Wilson have gone into the wingers' positions. They've found a way of scoring goals. Villa is 1 step too far. They're above them. They're also thinking Europe. This is going to be a 2-1 win. Watkins to score 1 goal. What about you?
All I can say is ditto. 2-1 to the Villa, but what I want to know, Poet.
This is a difficult game for Fulham. Very sprucey side, but for me, Aston Villa, Unai Emery, it will be a good evening or evening underneath them. I'm going for a 3-1. I still feel like Ollie Watkins might score again.
Leeds United against Leicester City, 16th against 17th. This is a massive
Not
relegation
quite Premier League title.
Dogfight. There's no cups here. There.
I've got a name for this game, actually.
Go on, then.
I call it the 5-horse race for 16th place.
Oh.
We all want 16th place if we're Leeds or Leicester right now. You've got Leeds, who are 1 point above the relegation zone, and Leicester, who are equal on points to going down. This is insane.
Leeds have lost 3 in a row. Meslier in goal has seemed to have lost all confidence here.
I'm not going to lie.
Leicester are going in the other direction. That was a good win last week.
Let's talk about the Yorkshire boys first. There's a lot you've just said in one sentence. Leeds usually rely on their home form to pick up the points, but recently I think they've raised the white flag. They've conceded 5 goals and 6 goals at home. What is going on?
Leeds used to score goals, and against Fulham, Theo, at Craven Cottage, they only had 2 shots on target.
Not good enough.
So they're not creating chances. That was a really bad result.
But Leicester, somehow, they are the only team left in the top 5 European leagues are yet to hold a clean sheet since the World Cup.
Ooh.
The only side.
They won last week, and the week before they were pretty good in the second half against City. So I think Leicester have turned a corner. Usually at home at Ellen Road, I predict Leeds a draw or a win. I think they're going to lose this.
You've got Harvey Barnes, who scored against Leeds every single match in their last 6 against Leeds. That's a crazy stat. They have all their firepower, and the Foxes are getting consecutive wins. 2-1.
Wow, he's coming up with the Thogden facts today, isn't it? It's usually my job, that is. I reckon ditto, Theo. 2-1 to Leicester
And nobody
City.
wants Leicester to go down from winning the Premier League title.
I'm going to go for a Brucey Leicester City victory. Let's go for 2-0. Leeds are just conceding too much at home.
Nottingham Forest against Brighton and Hove Albion 19th against 8th. And Nottingham Forest, great spirit at Anfield, Theo, but worst form in the league.
They're without a Premier League win since February. And I think they've got a chance of doing it. They showed a valiant display at Anfield. I know they lost the game, but they showed some real fight. A 3-2. Going to Liverpool away is one of the hardest fixtures. Jurgen Klopp says he's turned a corner. I think Forest have as well. And they're going to be returning to the City ground, where out their 6 wins in the Premier League season, 5 of them have come here. If they want to survive, they have to win now. And Brighton are tired, aren't they, Dad? What have they just played?
You make a good point about Brighton.
Yes.
They are tired. And I spoke to my cousin Cameron, big Brighton fan, and he's worried. You know why? Just missed out on the FA Cup final, might just miss out on Europe. Then what happens? Maybe you sell your best 2 or 3 players.
Brighton always win the hard games. They always beat the Chelseas,
Yes.
home and away. They beat Liverpool, whatever. When it comes to Forest away, I feel like De Zerbi is getting head loss because he said he deserved to win that match. I thought United had some really good chances. I think as a manager, you should come in respectfully to your opponents and be like, do you know what? We put in a great performance and we're Brighton. We're not United, who's this historic club. But I think on another day we would have won. No, he didn't say that. He said we deserve to win. And he basically roasted United. And after watching the game, I thought it was a bit unfair.
You know what, Theo? I was in the garden and that Solly March penalty ball landed in my garden.
He's one of the most underrated footballers in the Premier League this
He's
season.
had such a great season.
It's always the one that wants it the most. We saw in the Euros, Sancho and Rashford missed from that same penalty spot that they scored from.
Yes.
So clearly they've been through experience moments to get there. Solly March is the same. He's a new kid on the block. He's smashing it, and he has
smashing it over the bar.
7th will be a Conference League spot. So it's just 1 point they need to chase Liverpool for Brighton. They've got to remember that. But I don't think this game will be the one to decide that. I think they're going to lose. Nottingham Forest 1-0.
Love to see Brighton get into Europe this season. They're going to win this one narrowly, 1-0.
Keylor Navas has conceded an average of 2.2 goals per game, so I get it.
Nottingham, just hurry up and go down, big man. Navas in goal, but still, I'll tell you what, man, them sheets are never going to be clean like a hotel room, boy. It's not going to feel sprucey. It's not going to feel right. I'm going for a Brighton win. I reckon they're vexed. Let's go for a 3-0.
Chelsea against Brentford, 11th against
God,
10th. Possibly the most meaningless game of the day. 2 teams in poor form. Chelsea rested. Brentford slipped a bit in recent weeks. Let's keep this short.
This is the most pointless game. It's 10th versus 11th. There's a 5 gap between 2 of them. After the sacking of Potter, which I think is a disgrace, by the way. We said it when it happened, and I still say it today. They didn't need to do that. Imagine losing a Champions League quarter-final match that you've built to, just to be handed away from you and given to Frankie Lampard for just, being a club legend? That Lampard club legend has gone 4 games, 4 losses, 100% loss ratio.
Theo, they've got the wrong manager. The players are a bunch of prima donnas. They're not playing. The fans are unhappy. And you know what, Brentford, they haven't been really good recently. But overall, they've had a good season. Ivan Toney, 19 goals in the league this season.
Dad, you know if he makes it 20, that will be the first time Brentford have a player that scores 20 goals in the First Division since 1937 between Dave McCullough. They want to finish in the top half. And the last time they went to the bridge, they won 4-1. And Buemo Masterclass, so thog, Dad. I'm going to go for a 1-0 draw after all that.
And after all that, I'm going for a 1-1 draw as well.
What? Poet, what do you think?
I mean, Chelsea couldn't buy a goal, and they actually attempted. They even bought man off loan, and they still didn't get it right. I'm going for Brentford 1-0. I'm going for Ivan Toney. He bets on himself. I'm going to bet on him as well.
West Ham United against Liverpool. It's 13th against 7th. These are 2 teams who won last week. And West Ham United went to Bournemouth, smashed. Tell me, Theo, that Fornals goal. Could you do that?
Oh, yeah, if you give me about 100,000 attempts on the training ground. He is a genius. I mean, I've just come back from Spain and I've seen some Spanish masterclasses from Seville, but to see Fornals do that away, score 4 goals at Bournemouth after scoring 4 goals against Ghent and continuing their Conference League form. Do you know what, Dad? What's mad is Moyes has gone from fans saying chance Moyes out to go to get a statue outside the stadium in 2 weeks. The highs and lows of football are just incredible.
Talking of turning things round, Liverpool, Theo, they've got to be favourites for 5th place now.
Jurgen Klopp has said they've turned a corner after back-to-back consecutive wins. With Diogo Jota on the form that he's in, back-to-back braces. Now, if he does it in a 3rd game, he'll be the first player since Luis Suarez for Liverpool to go 3 games scoring 2 or more goals.
I think this is going to be a cracking game. I'm going to get straight to my score. West Ham 1, Liverpool 2.
I think a Bowen masterclass though. From his 14 goals a season, 13 have been at the Olympic Stadium. So I'm going to go West Ham 2, Bowen 1 goal, 1 assist, and Liverpool 2, Jota with 1 goal. I'm sorry, I don't think you'll get the Suarez record, but over to Poet.
Liverpool, little late surge for Champions League. Might they get it? Who knows? I'm going for a 2-0 Liverpool. Or maybe a 2-1. Antonio to take the lead, Salah to get the winner. Who knows?
And we're finally there. Manchester City against Arsenal. It is first against second.
Take one side. Grab one side. This is like a tug of war.
No,
like 90 minutes of football to decide this. Dad, what's 38 times 90?
Oh my goodness, it's 380 times 927. It's 420.
There's no way you've got that correct.
I probably haven't.
Hold on. Your maths is good. I know you're an accountant and all, but fuck Dad, there's no way you... I would have never been able to do that. That's the amount of minutes you have in a Premier League season, but it all comes down to 90 for this match. Arsenal, do they really have a chance?
Well, they've been bottling it a little bit recently, haven't they, Theo? They played Southampton in the last game. I was driving past the pub and I saw Arsenal 1, Southampton 3 after 81 minutes and I didn't go in.
You know what? I'm going to call out my mate Will, Arsenal fan. He left the stadium at 3-1 in like the 87th minute or something. Absolute disgrace, mate. Especially when your team is doing well. They're going to finish 2nd in the Premier League. Forget the Premier League title race for a second. If Arsenal don't win it, you should still be proud. And then when he heard the cheers when he's outside the stadium, you realise, mate, never leave a football stadium early. Let's be honest, they have to win this match if they want to be in with a chance of winning the Premier League.
But Manchester City have been absolutely ruthless recently. They've come good at the right time. They've won the last 5. They're winning everything in Europe. They've got players on the bench. Surely,
they've got experience of winning it, and Pep Guardiola has done it before. And all those distractions in the cups and stuff will affect the Premier League? No. And I think when you're playing against your old deputy, Mikel Arteta, at the Etihad, in my eyes, the hardest place to go anywhere right now to pick up points. I think there's only one way this match will go. Arsenal, it's now or never. If they somehow turn up and win, I think they have a good chance of winning the Premier League title race because of the points difference and the pressure that will be gained on Man City in their additional matches. If they draw, I would give Arsenal about a 10% chance of winning the Premier League.
They don't have the depth of squad that City do, and for that reason, I'm going to go with a City win 3-1. 3-1 to Manchester City.
So City have won the Premier League. I understand where you're coming from, but the reason I'm predicting Arsenal to win this, Zinchenko, Gabi Jesus, they have experience. They've brought experience to win the Premier League. I'm telling you this right now. They will go to City. They will shock everyone. And when Man City concede at the Etihad, they will be shook. They won't believe it. I'm joking. 3-0 City.
It's a prank, isn't it?
The Premier League title goes to Man City. I'm pranking you. Get Beadle. You're a mug. Thogdad's a mug. Man City winning the Premier League is done.
Someone who isn't a mug, Poet.
The game of the century. The game that probably determines the title. And I'm guessing the title goes to Etihad. I see Arsenal taking the lead, possibly like we stole the scarf. But I tell you what, I just see Haaland getting the winner. I'm going for 2-1.
Southampton against Bournemouth, 20th against 15th. This is a tasty, naughty South Coast derby. Southampton showed real spirit against Arsenal, didn't they?
Personally, I'm going to get straight to it. Southampton 1, Bournemouth 0. I think the Bournemouth have been brilliant recently, but they've had a few hiccups. They got that massive draw against Arsenal away, scoring 3 goals. They want to fight for survival, even though they are rock bottom, and I think they will get a big 3 points here.
Bournemouth have won 3 of the last 5, Theo. Southampton's form is terrible. Southampton 2, Bournemouth 1.
I'm going to go for a 1-1. That feels right.
Everton against Newcastle United, 18th against 3rd. It's 3rd bottom against 3rd from the top, Theo. And Everton, the lowest scorers in the league this season. They've run out of steam.
Absolutely run out of steam. The Toffees, I feel for them. They've got a manager in Sean Dyche who knows how to survive, even with the hardest of teams. But when he joined that side, he didn't have a transfer window. And that's what really affected them. The Geordies, after scoring 6 against Spurs, 5 within 23 minutes, you've got to predict them a win. Everton 1, Newcastle 2.
Wow, that was massive. But let's talk about that 6-1, Theo. When Murphy got a couple, Isaac got a couple, Joe Linton, Wilson. What a game.
You've got to credit Eddie Howe, because even outside of the first team, when a player like Jacob Murphy's coming on and playing what is the big 4, you're playing them at home, and he's scoring 2 goals. They work harder on the training ground than anyone else, and that's why the Newcastle are going in the right direction.
And that is true. They play superbly as a team. It's the complete opposite of Chelsea, a bunch of prima donnas, a bunch of stars, whereas Newcastle, what a great unit. And for that reason, Everton 0, Newcastle 1. What an atmosphere there's going to be there.
Yeah, the Toffee will be doing hearing everything. I just think the draw is too good. But Poet, what do you think?
Everton, old school Mary J. Blige, you're going down. Let's go with Newcastle. They're going crazy. Let's go with 2. 2-0.
And finally, Tottenham Hotspur in 5th against Manchester United
Yes.
in 4th. We've already talked about Spurs. They were smashed by Newcastle, Theo. They've got to win this one because they're slipping away from the top 4.
Spurs were awful. They played with a back 4 for the first time this season. Why did they think that was a good idea? When a manager does that, they have to work on it in the training ground religiously to make sure the players know exactly what their role and job is, because they didn't when they walked out there. And Perisic and Pedro Porro was always a wing back for Sporting. He was never made for a back 4. The tactics, the formation, everything was wrong. Stellini is very likely to be sacked. That's the news today. It's a 6-point gap between United and Newcastle. But even so, you've got teams knocking on the door behind them.
Yeah.
And the form that they're in, I think they're just going to crumble. I know United are tired. They've played a 120-minute slog at Wembley versus Brighton, which they did win. So the players will be a little bit more positive. But is their mind really on going to London again on Thursday night? What do you reckon?
Well, it's a funny thing about Man United this season. They're going to qualify for Champions League. They've won the League Cup. They're in the final of the FA Cup. But despite all of that, they've not been very good at times.
I think if you can defend Harry Kane, you've got Spurs on lock.
And I feel really sorry for Harry Kane, who, by the way, has got 24 goals this season.
It's crazy.
What's he going to do at the end of this or next season? Surely he's going to go somewhere like Man United. I'm going to go Spurs 1, Manchester United 2.
And I completely agree. Tottenham 1, Man United 2. We agree on the final prediction.
I'm going for a 3-0 United. Tottenham just don't feel right recently. Even a 3-1. Maybe Harry Kane scores again. That's all he ever does. The realest guy on the block, remember? Any problems you ever had, if you go to any area in North London, you have any problems, make sure you don't phone me because there's nothing I can do. One love.
Theo,
If you enjoy
somebody there's not subscribed.
What?
I'm stopping right now. They have now.
That's great.
It's just
great. He subscribed because he knows Man City winning the league.
Yeah.
Only subscribe if you know City winning the league. I'm going to have a lot of unsubscribes from Arsenal. That's it. End it.